Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton Knave. We've started the 1982 tour, the Beat Tour, starting in Philadelphia. It's quite a long set, so that's great. 13 tracks, although it fits onto a CD, so it's not that long a concert. Maybe generally tracks are a bit shorter than they were in the 70s, with exceptions. So yeah, they split up, but they carried on anyway, fortunately for us. And it's actually the first time two consecutive albums have exactly the same lineup. Because remember the 72-74 band, Jamie Muir left, then technically Cross wasn't a band member on Red, although he was on it. It didn't actually make any difference, but he wasn't a band member on Red and didn't actually know either. But still, supposedly the band lineup had changed. So consequently this is the first time that you have another album of the same lineup, which is a difficult thing to achieve by the sounds of things. Interestingly, loads of stuff from 82. They seem to have the whole tour by the sounds of things. We've got loads to get through. And nothing from 81. Although what that tour to download for 81 is, I don't know, maybe whether that's audience recordings or whatever. It seems strange that it's been kept behind like that, I don't know. But yeah, the 82 tour is awesome. It kind of starts at its best rather than ending at its best. So they don't build up, they kind of build down in some senses. But there's reasons for that we should talk about. So these earlier shows are fantastic. It's all good, obviously, but these early ones definitely. I mean, also there's hardly anything from 84 either. So did they record them? Is it that they're all much the same? We've got the Three of a Perfect Fair. We've got the start of the tour with the Japan video DVD, and we've got the end of the tour with Absent Lovers and nothing in between either. So most of this is the 80s is going to be from 82. It has to be said there's less variation, I think. There's less to say about each show as there was in 72, 74. Not because they're less creative or anything like that, it's just because they're tighter, they're more focused on what they're doing and that kind of stuff, right? And rather than often it's about what goes wrong with the 72, 74 band. I'm sure plenty went wrong in 82, but what we have on recordings is excellent. Now, the other reason we're really lucky to have this tour is they're only active for 5 months of the year. Adrian Belew had his solo stuff and he had a deal so he could do his solo stuff as well, and that's really good as well. You should listen to that. And obviously, surely Tony Levin, he makes a loss playing with King Crimson, so he has to do that. And remember, he's Peter Gabriel's bass player. That's his day job. So he must have been straight off to do security after this, because that was 82. But yeah, this show, July the 30th, 82. Sid Smith thinks this is the best 80s show. Actually, I don't agree. I think I've played them back to back, and I think Absent Lovers is the one, personally. But yeah, this is still a killer show. So, track one is Thela Hun Ginjeet. It's a good opener. I mean, I've never been a massive fan of it as a song as much as some of the other songs on Discipline, but it's a great opener. Obviously, it's nice and intense. We get to hear some thrashy guitar and some cool picking and etc. And Belew to do his thing. Straight away better than the album version, I think. It's great. The Absent Lovers version is still better though, I think. Track 2 is Red. Adrian Belew now does the announcements, so Fripp doesn't have to. And he's now the front man. They have a front man in the band, and that's him. Maybe John Wenton was holding a similar role, but here it's much more obvious. He's the lead singer, he's the lead guitarist. And I don't think Fripp announced King Crimson until 2000. If someone can give me an example of a bootleg where he's done an announcement to King Crimson between these times, excellent, let me know. But as far as I know, it wasn't until 2000 he did some more amusing Frippisms, which are really quite funny, actually. I mean, he's very witty. Obviously, Belew is more friendly. The more traditional, nice to be here, etc., which is a more sensible way to talk to your audience, obviously. When particularly the audience sometimes might be hostile in the 80s, he's a respective audience of the audient. So track 2 is Red. Still slow at this point, so it's much the same as it was in the Moles Club, but it is tighter than that. Obviously it's more well recorded, so automatically it gets more points. Track 3 is The Howler. Rarely played. It's on the early shows. For whatever reason I've never liked it, which I talked about last week. But it's definitely better than the studio. It does come out much better than in the studio. Just much more energy. Track 4 is Frame by Frame. Now they put the quiet bit first, which I think is right. I agree, I concur. But it shouldn't start with the heavy bit, it should start with the quiet bit, and that's how they played it since. Great vocals, Adrian Belew's really on. Killer version might be the definitive 80s version of that. Although it was great in the 90s. Live in Japan, 95 is great. Aztec Thrack, that's live in Mexico, 96 is also great. So, Track 5, Mate Kudasai. It probably got better as it went along. Not a huge difference in performances, really, obviously. Track 6, The Sheltering Sky. I mean, you might think it was funny how it didn't change that much, but actually this one does. It's always great, it's Sheltering Sky, and there's no bad versions of Sheltering Sky. but it was better in the 80s than the 90s, I think. Although it wasn't played a huge amount, I think it was only played in 96. It's a jam, not an improv. Important distinction, I think. The themes are established and they can do stuff, but essentially it's a jam. They've really let it run long at this point, middle of the set like that. It's a great place to put it. Works really well. Maybe that's the best one. Maybe that's the best Sheltering Sky. It could well be. Track 7 is Discipline. Slightly faster tempo, but obviously it is essentially a recital. Elephant Talk. The scary staccato intro. Might be the best version. Maybe it is the best version. I don't know. I would have to play those 2 tracks from Absent Lovers and from this back to back to check that, which I haven't done. Track 9, Indiscipline. Absolutely killer version. Blows the album version out of the way. He's Adrian Belew. He's got his own King Crimson audience, to play off. Wonderful. One of the best, but not the best. Track 10 is Neurotica. So much better than the album version. Obviously 95, because they've got the double trio, it's going to sound fantastic, but straight away it's a live track. And disappeared from the set later on, actually, sadly. Which is a terrible shame. It's hard to believe it hasn't really been played that much. I mean, it's played the first half of this tour by the sounds of things, and a bit in 96. That's it. Not been played since. It's possible because Adrian Belew didn't want to do the spoken bit, and I think in the 90s, controversial, I think the spoken bit is a tape. Intense stuff, fantastic frippery. Adrian Belew, one of his best vocal bits and best soaring melodies, great. Track 11, Heartbeat. Now, this is a strange one. You always read about how well it worked live, and for me, it's Heartbeat. They're playing Heartbeat. I don't know. Obviously, at the concert, it's a different thing, so But on the recording, it's just a recording of them playing Heartbeat. Track 12, Sartori In Tangier. Oh my god. Whole band on fire for this. This is fantastic. That's a moment in Crimson. You need to get this just for that. And we close with Larks, Tongs and Aspic Part 2, and we get to hear how much it's developed since the last show we did, the Moles Club. It's really intense now, and it's fast. It's taken on a real menace now, in a way that they never had in the 70s. Having 2 guitars, you see, in that case, has done that. So yeah, great one. Philadelphia 82. See you next week.